Joined tonight by
me, Paul, and
Me,
Freya. And
just
it's
think of a name for a minute there.
it's 9:20 on the Sunday evening. I've just finished
Very
watching
late.
Flux finale, The Vanquishers, and you two probably watched it a little while ago.
Yes.
I feel like my brain has melted out of my head a bit in a good way. Wow, just wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think with this one, it's going to take me a little while to process it.
Yeah. As I was watching, I was thinking, I've got to go record a podcast after this. I could really do another watch.
Yeah. And what are you going to say? What are we going to say about it? Because I mean, it's very difficult, I think, when you're watching serialized TV to get an entire episode in an episode. It's not.
But it doesn't work like that.
I don't know what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the end of a story, the final chapter in the story that started a while ago, right?
There's not a beginning and end as such in the episode because there's lots of beginnings and lots of ends and middle parts and things. I thought it was just massive. And also, and let me just say this, that is how you do a multi-doctor story.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That was good.
3 doctors. The
I
3
loved
doctors.
it.
All
the 3 doctors. Yeah.
It's the same doctor, just
Will you
3
please
times.
stop torturing me?
I've got a massive crush on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of jokes in there. I mean, it was
So funny.
It was funny.
Well,
it was
chocolate.
hilarious.
Mars bars.
I mean, there's always been this thing about in Doctor Who since I can remember, where was it John Pertwee was famously quoted as saying, "There's nothing more scary than finding a Yeti sitting on your toilet."
Really?
Something like that. So now we have Sontarans eating chocolate in your corner shop.
Yeah. That's
just a new one for the 21st century.
So Who, so British, and so brilliant. I just love
and so bonkers.
Yeah, bonkers, you know, and the doctor popping up from behind the counter, going on about wanting a corner shop because the doctor's always liked a little shop, you know, if you remember.
That's it, exactly.
And the Sontaran just gorging on chocolate, really enjoying it.
It was, yeah. I mean, there were a lot of moments in this where, I mean, the whole thing, it hardly paused for breath. In fact, I don't think it did. I think there were a few moments. I mean, okay, so once the story had been kind of wrapped up, I mean, obviously a lot of plot threads kind of left dangling that maybe picked up later on. But once the main story had kind of finished, then we had our little moments in the TARDIS, and we had that fantastic Yaz and Doctor moment.
Oh.
I mean, the air was charged in that, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. And also the bit when they were reunited in the tunnels earlier in the episode, and
Big
I heard a large number of people around the country and the world cheering at a fast-paced hug.
She just had to go, wait a minute, and then just hugged her, and that was just amazing.
But you know, regardless of any subtext to it, it shows the closeness of the pair of them, and the strong friendship that they've got, and you can take it however way you want, really. But that, on that side of things, it was lovely.
It was lovely. Yeah, and got to shed a tear, but I think also Dan coming back at the inappropriate moment.
Yeah,
left or right.
Yeah, it's like that was it then, shattered. But then we got that beautiful shot of the Doctor just kind of wiping a tear out of her eye, and when you think of the stress that the character's been under now for this whole of these 6 episodes, it's massive. But that's what Doctor Who's great at is putting, when you put the Doctor under a lot of stress, and then you pile on more and more stress, and you see how they succeed and get through it and find a solution, find a way, no matter how dark it seems. The Doctor always finds a way, and it's almost like the more stress you give them, the more driven they are to find their way through it and improve the situation and get to somewhere there where they will win or at least where the bad guys will be defeated, even if the Doctor doesn't actually win. If you know what I mean.
It brings to mind the scene with the Doctor and Azure, where when we finally found out their motivations, which I really liked. We can talk about that in a minute. But Azure was saying she didn't understand why the Doctor wanted things to live. Why she wanted things.
Moment.
It was because that really, sums it all up, doesn't it? But I think it was Stephen Moffat who said something like, the Doctor travels in a police box to help, carries a screwdriver to fix things, has got two hearts because there's so much love to give, and calls itself the Doctor because it wants to fix things. And I thought that was a brilliant kind of character description. And then so that bit there tonight, about why do you want things to live was kind of the distillation of the Doctor, really, but also the cruelty in that thing with Azure saying, we're going to put it on a loop and just play, and you'll witness the destruction of every atom over and over, ties all the way back to the Halloween apocalypse when Flux was first attacking and the planets were being destroyed and people were dying, etc. And the Doctor said, I feel all of it. So it's the Doctor's connection to the everything, matter, all of it.
That was beautifully put, Mr. Jeff. I'm feeling quite emotional after that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, I totally agree. What I also liked about that moment as well is how Azure, well, I mean, you said it there actually, is when Azure said, why should things be the way you want them to be?
Yeah.
Because again, bad people never think of themselves as being bad. They always just think of themselves as being right. And we all think of ourselves as being right. So who's to say that one viewpoint is not as valid as another one? Well, when it involves genocide and the deaths of many people, obviously that is a bad thing. But again, the perpetrators of those crimes don't see themselves.
They don't see it that way. No,
people. They just, they feel there's a reason for them to do what it is, and it's the Doctor's job to stop them and to pull these people out, to call them out, and do what they can to stop it happening.
And it made me think a little bit briefly about like the Pandorica stuff back in Matt Smith's.
Oh, yeah, I remember the Pandorica. Do you remember the Pandorica Freya? Yeah, Matt Smith. Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it?
A long time ago, but all the primary enemies got together to cage him and stop him because, like you say, we see the Doctor as doing the right thing, but they all see the Doctor as doing the bad thing because they think their plan of world domination or whatever it might be is
the right plan.
Exactly, yeah. So I liked that storyline back then. That they all finally ganged up and had a truce to stop him. But I thought that scene tonight was brilliant. There was so much good stuff in this, and didn't you think that it just flew by, all this stuff being handled really nicely, skipping from time zone to planet to different characters and everything, and then it got massively epic when the Daleks and the Cybermen turned up and then got enormously destroyed. That was probably the most spectacular they've done on screen, I would say.
I think it was. I said to you, didn't I? Do you remember when all the cyber ships and the Dalek ships were on screen at the time? I thought, this is how I always wanted Doctor Who to look when I was little. But it never did in the 70s and 80s. They just could never have achieved anything like this on the scale with sellotape and string. I mean, it still had a lot of charm and a lot of love for it and a lot of ambition. But the visuals in this series have just been off the scale. I mean, this, I've said it before and I'm repeating myself, but this thing is competing now at a level with the likes of the Star Wars and Marvel series.
But, it felt on that level.
It really did, didn't it?
Really did.
If you were to show somebody, if you showed sat these down with I don't know, 8-year-old kid or something, saying, right, watch an episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, followed by Doctor Who, followed by The Mandalorian or something. If they liked them all, there wouldn't be any perception in that kid's mind as to the visual differences, story differences, but the visuals, I think they're on level.
They are on level, yeah, absolutely, and that really was brilliantly done there tonight, and epic in its kind of
epic.
What did you think of Passenger ending up? Because I was thinking, how are they going to get out of this? How are they going to stop all this? And then, of course, it was Passenger.
Passenger was the key.
Yeah.
And it was hiding there all the
All
time
along,
in
yeah.
plain sight. The answer to getting rid of the flux. I mean, okay, so the Doctor convinced the Ood to. In my head is Ood Brian. There's
Yeah.
no two ways about it.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
right there in the division, right?
Yeah.
Got him to kind of compress the flux down as far as it could. The matter of the Carvanista, the Lipari ships slowed it all down, and then Passenger hoovered it up. It was brilliant. I mean, it's completely bonkers, to be honest, right?
Well,
I don't even want to think about the physics of that, but I don't care
No,
because
but
who isn't about physics and
yeah,
things.
if you're going to start,
It's a lot of fun.
yeah, exactly. If you're going to start picking it apart, saying that couldn't happen, and my favourite, the moon
Well, you
is.
could do, but then you might as well say, why do they have? Why do laser guns in Star Wars have sound, and why do their engines make a noise and stuff like that?
Yeah,
and
it
doesn't really matter. It's
No.
just the fun of things.
Yeah, you're watching a show about a police box that travels in. What did you say?
It's fictional.
Yeah, exactly. You're watching a show about a police box that travels in time and space. If you're going to have an issue with a passenger alien, yeah, don't watch it.
To be honest, I haven't seen anyone who's had any issues with that, because it's just it's a nice way of just wrapping the whole thing up, isn't it? Of sucking it all in, and just,
I thought
it's not always about the end game. It's about the journey. It's how we get there. It's what changes in between. And obviously, the Doctor's gone through quite an emotional journey through the end of this.
Yeah, huge.
Yaz and Dan again, they've had an actual physical journey as much as anything else. They spent years at the turn of the 20th century doing their Raiders of the Lost Ark thing.
They downplayed that time, didn't they? When the Doctor said, "How long's it been?" Yes, a little while. The passenger thing I thought worked absolutely fine, and that thread, that narrative thread with its abilities, was seeded back in episode 3. So it's not like it suddenly came out of nowhere. I mean, like you said, you haven't seen anyone complain about that. I'm sure.
I think you lose it, Jeff. I don't think anyone is complaining about it, but
no, well, I haven't been online yet.
You're just talking about theoretically, if people were coming to complain, this is what we say.
Yeah,
it's getting late at night. We need to stop doing these things late at night, because my brain doesn't work after 6:30.
Yeah, sorry,
which is unfortunate. Most of Doctor Who happens after that time, so
yeah,
that's why I need to watch it again. But it'd be great, wouldn't it? Also, I'm gonna book myself a day off.
I was just going to say, January 24th. When the Blu-ray comes out, maybe I will take the day off. Sit and watch it all in one hit.
Have you got your pre-order in, Jeff?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah. I didn't go for the Steelbook, which is lovely. But I haven't got any of the others, and I know if I start, it's a slippery collecting slope. So,
like you,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, better not go down there. Just go for the standard Blu-ray. It's a shame it's not coming out on a 4K release. Bearing in mind it was shot in 4K. But maybe it will at some point. We'll see.
It will at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, that'll be the collection release when that comes out.
You've just been called geeky by a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I thought I had that. Yeah, how dare you? I also liked. There was so much that I liked in this episode. I suppose if I was going to have to criticize something, it would be. This is because I got told earlier in the week that I don't have enough nuance to my views on Twitter.
Nonsense.
The Grand Serpent getting left on a rock, I did quite like that, but it sort of was a bit. It was a bit quick. It would have been nice to see him suffer a bit more, but then I suppose he's just left on a rock in space, and
because that was what he made Vinda do.
Yes, well, that was quite a nice. Yeah. Now, talking of Vinda, Chibnall said that Vinda will break your heart. And Mandip Gill was interviewed recently. She said Series 13 will emotionally, destroy viewers. And you might have seen people talking about it in the group chat earlier, but I think they must be referring to all of the specials as well, not just Flux.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I would imagine that Carvanista, Vinda, and Bell will return in a Big Finish box set, but in the show as well.
Yeah, very possibly. I think we haven't seen the end of this story yet.
When the TARDIS is still a wreck, isn't it?
TARDIS is still a wreck, and when you think about it as well, go on.
We saw in the bigger trailer.
Not
the trailer after.
What was there a bigger one?
There's a bigger trailer.
The New Year episode.
Sorry, I just would like to say there, Chibs, you cheeky little git. that little tiny trailer that ends with the three of them being exterminated. Of course, I want to watch. What's that one about?
I know. So what?
Because in the bigger trailer, you told me to pause it at the end when it says like Doctor Who.
I saw something.
Like it says the name of it coming soon, la da da, and it paused it, and it had the TARDIS, and it was all like broken.
Really?
And had like
this is broken. Yeah,
magic coming out.
It hasn't healed. Because
energy, not magic.
Whatever it is, right? So when you think about it, right, the whole timeless child thing started in the Ghost Monument, right?
Yeah.
Second episode of Jodie's era, and it's okay. I kind of hope in a way we've seen the last of that, but I suspect it might still have something to play. But either way, regardless of that, what we're seeing here is a storyline that actually began with the woman who fell to Earth.
Yeah.
Right. It's a story that has kind of dipped in and out throughout the whole 13 Doctors era, I think, and we've still got 2 or 3 episodes to see where I think something else is going to play out.
And with her putting the thing in the TARDIS.
Yes, I was just going to say that as well. Yeah,
that was like a metaphorical closure for the timeless child. But then look at me, I've done poetry today.
You've been doing your poetry homework today.
You're on it as well. But she said, keep it, hide it somewhere where I can never find it until I need it. So
unless I really ask for it.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and so with all of that, I think I liked that she didn't get all those memories back, because what does it matter?
It would have kind of spoiled things a bit as well, wasn't it?
She can do this.
Yeah, but as soon as we know everything there is to know about the Doctor, then the Doctor stops being Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Which,
there doesn't need to be any more Doctor Who.
That's it. It's not Doctor Who anymore.
Yeah.
You could argue that actually this has happened time and time again over the course of the series history. Firstly, with the War Games, when we found out the Doctor was from Gallifrey, not from Gallifrey. We found out that the Doctor was a Time Lord and was then exiled, and because stole a TARDIS and went off and righted wrongs across the universe and generally interfered. And then, of course, we got the whole info dump in The Deadly Assassin, where we went to the Doctor's planet of Gallifrey, got involved in that, the Eye of Harmony, all that kind of stuff. And it seemed at that point that all the mysteries were kind of solved. We knew there were only 13, incarnations of the Doctor. We knew so much, or thought we did. And then, of course, we get the other in the 7th Doctor's era, and the fact that, the Doctor was around in the dark times, but we don't know how or when. We get Silver Nemesis, the statue, the living statue that seems to know the Doctor from a time past. Oh, he calls himself the Doctor, does he? That's interesting. And then, of course, we get the War Doctor, a whole incarnation we never knew about later on. And but you know what I mean? They're constantly changing the history. And the reason they can do that is because nothing is ever fully 100% explained. So there's always room for another production team and other writers to come in and do something with it and install as much mystery as they want to, or something which gives the story a little bit more energy to kind of push it through another dimension, or something which allows a story to be told about the Doctor that tells us something about the Doctor, that reveals that character in some way that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's the Doctor understanding that she is who she is right now at this moment, and what she does now is the only thing that matters. Yes, it'd be great to have all those memories back and to understand where she came from and why and who her parents were and why she was abandoned or whatever it is. And there was some of that which allowed her to have some closure. She was able to face Tecteon at the end of during the second the previous episode, chapter 5. So that in a way came to a closure, and her taking the decision to drop the fob watch and say, well, I don't need that now. I might need it later, but I don't need it right now. It's good. It is a kind of a closure, like you said, Franny.
I didn't feel I don't feel sort of disappointed. I think if we discovered a load of stuff, these memories, that I'm not sure how I'd feel about that, but I like the that she didn't need to know it all, and like you said, she is who she is now, and that is really all that matters. Being the Doctor.
Sometimes you've got to go through that pain to understand that. You've got to have those questions thrown at you.
Self-realization.
Well done, Freya. She's good. You're on fire tonight.
I know. It's all that English homework I did earlier.
What did you make of the house that turned out not to be Lungbarrow, kind of unsurprisingly?
Do you want to go? Do you want to have a go at the house?
The
The
house.
floaty house thing.
I know what you're on about.
Great visuals. I loved Swarm and Azure being in colour whilst the Doctor was in
Oh,
black
that
and
was
white.
so cool.
Yeah, and that was. I just want to say, I probably mentioned this before. That massive crack in Azure's head. That's brilliant. I love it.
I was looking. I was getting quite fixated on that because it's
Yeah.
like it's deep, isn't it? And it's
Yeah,
like full of.
Yeah, I really
what was
noticed
the
that.
word? It's a geological word for stuff that looks like crystallized in a stone or in a rock.
Yeah, it does.
What
And
is
I
it?
noticed it tonight. It's quite a bit higher than the top of her head, isn't it? And like you said,
I
it's
thought it was like it looked to me like it was deeper, like it was a
that's what I
gas
was
right
going to say.
inside her head.
It's the makeup is a good inch or so above her head, I guess.
What's it called? It's a name of a rock like thing. I was never any good at geology,
Quartz, is
geography
it?
and stuff.
Is it
No,
quartz?
quartz is a kind of thing that this is. It's called a thing. There is a thing that it's called.
Maybe we'll be able to find out one day.
Tweet in, people,
Yeah.
if you're a geologist or you're just doing geography GCSE or something.
Or you just
Tell us
know.
what it's called when you get sparkly rocks, when you cut them open and they're full of sparkly bits in the middle. So that's crystallized or whatever. You know what I mean?
I do. I just can't remember.
I can't remember what it's called.
No.
Anyway, yeah, her head looks a bit like that.
Yeah,
like she was made of rock.
Didn't it? Yeah.
Which again, same with Swarm. He's got bits sticking out of his head.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's talk about them again, because I thought they were brilliant. Such a good,
love those people.
such a good pair of villains.
Really
Did you feel that their storyline paid off in the end? Did you feel? How did you
I feel again like we haven't seen the last of them.
Yeah.
I think there was an ending to that particular episode in their life, right? They achieved what was it? Azure Ascension.
Yeah, she looked quite happy
got
about that,
their
didn't she?
reward
Yeah.
for doing the thing that they did. I thought that was brilliant. I loved that. It just sod everything else. We now achieve ascension,
enlightenment,
kind of sort of like sublimation to another high level of existence or something, another step up the ladder. So, but I do think there's more to come from whoever the Ravagers are. So threat from another dimension. That's we can't fully understand it. We don't have enough information. There are hints at well, we've seen this repeated battle that goes on between good and evil, between the forces of time and space, between Swarm Azure and the Doctor, and obviously it seems to be that there are bigger powers at play. I mean, we saw another Swarm looks identical, Father Time or something, or who's to say that's not a chronivore or something else a bit like that. Doctor Who has always dallied with this idea of eternal beings, cosmic forces, the black and white guardians, stuff like that, the key to time. And the Doctor said it today: the universe is in balance, the cosmos is in balance. It needs that balance. So I love it when it does that, because for me, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I do like it when things are explained, and it's nice and tidy, but I love it when there's still more, or we're left with wanting more of a thing, or when there's still questions that you can think about in your head afterwards, and you think, you know what, there's more to come from this. I can watch that episode again and get something from it. I can watch it a third time and get something else from it. And that's one thing that for me has really typified the last 2-3 series of Doctor Who, is the fact that the rewatch value they have has been much greater, I think, than it has been for a long time. It's Doctor Who can tell so many different types of stories. It can tell really easy stories where everything is right there on the surface. There's maybe one or two little layers underneath it, very basic kind of character interaction, very basic kind of archetypes facing off against each other. It tells a great story. There's nothing wrong with that. Some good special effects, a bit of wham bang, and it's done by the end of it. That's great, Or it can also tell stories where what we actually see on screen is the effect of the story rather than the cause of the story. And that's what I think we've been seeing in a lot of Chris Chibnall's work. We see imagine you're looking at a cauldron or a pan or something, and what we're seeing is the bubbles popping out, right? As the thing's heating up, but we don't know what's causing it to heat up, and we can't see what's happening deep down until we really sort of dive in and start eating. I was going somewhere with that.
No, I think you're right. I said this before. I think quite a lot of his episodes have quite a strong kind of mystery element. You see things happening, and but you don't discover more about it till later on. So you're seeing the effect and not the cause, rather than the other way around. And
Yeah, which it's just another way of telling stories.
Yeah.
It's like some version of what we normally see. Although saying that, it's a type of storytelling that they've used a lot in things like Breaking Bad, for example, did that a lot during its run. Game of Thrones did it as well. We saw the effects of things that we didn't see happening. We don't see the cause always. We just see the effects on people and how those people then are forced to interact and drive their own particular story. While the main story is still kind of going on and building and doing something there. And I do think there's still a bit more to see. We've still got 3 episodes, and we're no doubt going to be leading towards a big regeneration. I think it's going to be quite epic.
But interestingly, Swarm 2 or Bad Doctor said that
Swarm V2.
Yeah, your time is nearing its end here.
There was foreshadowing.
There was foreshadowing.
That was
Did
a
you
bit
do foreshadowing in your English homework?
No, I didn't actually. I
No,
did
you
a lot of
just know it.
juxtapositions.
Oh.
a bit of mise en scene. But they said there's no regeneration here.
Yeah, that's right. No more regeneration. Yeah, I mean that's a tease, isn't it?
So because there was talk that it would be an open-ended regeneration with Jodie. You wouldn't see.
And obviously, if there is going to be a 14th Doctor, they haven't been cast yet, as far as we know.
Yes, as far as
they have been cast. We just don't.
We just don't know who it is.
Yeah, well, quite possibly, yeah. Or is it just going to be? Will it be a complete reboot? When it comes back, I kind of hope not. But
to be honest, it's always kind of rebooted anyway. Isn't it?
But it will.
Every time a new production team comes in, they reboot. Every time a new Doctor or a new companion or something changes somewhere, because that's one of the reasons why the show's lasted so long. It is constantly changing. We've said this before. It's always in a state of flux.
Very funny.
See what I did?
But
Probably.
the history of the show is not ignored.
Yes.
So when Dan and Diane got back together at the end when they were at the museum and he was doing his only a little scene there, but he was keen on her and
she wasn't so, and she kind of moved on, hadn't she? I mean, she'd spent all that time inside Passenger kind of on her own. And that's changed her. There's something there, and she doesn't feel the same way about Dan anymore. But
she felt that he was late to the date, didn't she? Even though he wasn't. And like you said, she's been on her own all that time, figuring things out, and showing that she was capable, and could had figured out a way out. And maybe that experience changed her, and she moved on by that journey.
Which
so
again is a really nice human story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And not one that we always see in Doctor Who. I mean, we have actually, to be fair, since Russell T Davies brought it back in 2005, we've seen a lot more complex human character journeys, and this is another one along those lines. And it's nice that it's kind of I mean, Diane's a kind of she's not part of the TARDIS crew. She's kind of secondary, character to the main sort of crew, I guess, but still part of it.
Yeah.
And she's fully developed within that. We have a really credible sense of a person going through something. It's a shame in a way we don't see more of her and more of that. Whatever would happen to her in Passenger again. I mean, again, there's a whole range of big finishes, perhaps. What happened to Diane inside Passenger? How does she turn from being just somebody like you or me or whatever, just off the street, like for turning up for a date that never happens, to being somebody who can dig into the inner workings of this bio-organic technical TARDIS thing and figure out how to get out of it and be really competent and confident with herself.
I mean that bit, there was no indication prior to anything that that she could do that, but like you say,
I think we knew she was a strong character.
Yes, and she was smart.
We'd only seen her in episode 1, I think, and then a little flash in whatever episode it was when she sort of half pops out of Passenger.
But when she had her scenes with Vinda and she said, run into the lake, and he ran, and it was the edge of the the sort of little world that was created inside Passenger.
Boundary or something.
Yeah, she'd obviously been there for some time and figured things
Oh
out
yeah,
herself.
She knew what to do.
Yeah, she did. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that digging into the ground. And she said, I found this. Something was uncovered.
Yeah,
But,
no, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it was. It's
no,
absolutely
no,
within the possibility. The thing is, it's just a thing that we didn't see,
yeah.
which is a shame. Really, I would have loved to have seen that, but we've only got 6 episodes, 6
Well,
hours.
that's the thing.
Tell the story.
You can say, oh, we didn't get this explained properly, or we should have seen this, or we should have seen that. I don't mean you saying that, but anybody. But you can't fit it all in. If you wanted every single character in any show or film to have every action shown and explained, everything would be like 10 hours long.
It's true, and I think also there's an assumption of intelligence within the audience.
Well, it's the inference of
like, do you know what? We don't need to fill in the gaps, right? Well, let's give you A and B or A and C, and you can fill in B yourself, right? We'll give you enough clues. You're an intelligent people, right?
I learned
you
about
generally
that
are.
Sort of thing back in my
You can work it out
psychology
yourself.
days.
We'll just cut. And again, this happens in Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, and all
you
those
don't
sorts
need
of
to
things.
see it all. And so I always remember this example: when somebody walks into a room and they're wet and they've come in from the outside, you infer that it's raining outside because that they're wet. Oh, they've
You
obviously
have
got
those clues.
Yeah. So similar, you see something happen in a story, like like you say, point C. You don't necessarily need B to bridge the gap between A and C. You can infer what's happened and
You
understand
can,
that kind
yes,
of logic within it.
exactly. Yeah.
What did you think of Joseph? Is that his name in the tunnels and all of that?
Joseph Williamson. Well,
Yes.
he'd softened out a bit, hadn't he? Now he wasn't quite
Less crazy.
Yeah, he wasn't
Yes.
quite the spiky figure that we'd seen sort of floating in and out of all these different things. But again, there's another resolution to the story waiting to be made use of. It's like Chekhov's gun. If you're going to use a gun in the final act, introduce it in the first act. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Right. So, and I liked it because there was layers of mystery throughout the last 5 chapters or so until it was fully kind of explained and used. So yeah, I like that. I liked it. What about you?
Yeah, well, he was obviously there for a reason, and it became extremely important. And like the Doctor said, he might have saved the universe. And
exactly.
He mellowed a bit. Well, perhaps that was because everything he'd
people
been
were
doing,
understanding him now. People weren't calling him crazy all the time, and
everything he was doing was justified. And he wasn't the loon that people made him out to be and things.
Maybe a little bit,
but a little, maybe. But it was for good reason. In the end,
good reason. It was driven mad by the labyrinth. Yeah, that was good fun. I'll tell you, if there's one thing I was a little bit disappointed with, in a way, was Kate Stewart perhaps seemed a little bit underused throughout the whole. Did you see someone comment that? Was it me? Did I comment that?
on Instagram.
No, on Instagram. There you go.
Yeah, she wasn't in a huge amount, but it was great to see her again.
It was
I really
absolutely.
Tell the Doctor that she liked this regeneration, and
she hopes to see her again. I hope that happens. I hope we get a good full-on unit special.
Yeah,
before we see the end of this era, I really do, because I would love to see that. We need to see. We're yet to see Kate Stewart's finest hour, I think.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, there's been quite a few on audio, but not in the show
yet.
Yeah,
but not in the series. We need it in the series. It has to happen. We've had the Brigadier's finest hour. We've had plenty of those, but his finest one, arguably, I'm not saying which it was because it'll be different for everybody. But the Brigadiers had multiple moments throughout Doctor Who, and now it's time for Kate Stewart to. Mind you, she was pretty good in the Zygon story, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, she was, but we need one that
was Matt Clara, really, wasn't it? Clara and the Doctor's speech during that one. So she was definitely playing third fiddle to this.
Yeah.
So yes, we need her to come centre stage.
Yeah, maybe that will come before 13.
Let's see if it actually happens or not. But it's been a hell of a ride, this series. I have to be honest.
It really has been. And we should say,
incredible.
Considering the difficulties they've faced in making things, in the pandemic, and the fact that they've, I was going to say, kept the same quality, but actually exceeded it more often than not. I think is incredible work to them, and also, and we spoke about this before. I think they would have written 10 or 11 scripts,
Yeah.
for a full series,
Mm.
realised we can't do them.
We can't do all this stuff.
Yeah, and have had to adapt this, and we talked about this in our chat briefly earlier. I think some of the episodes, like Village of the Angels, was probably a standalone, and then they've weaved in bits of Flux to it.
Very possibly, yeah, and maybe dropped a few storylines out of it as well.
Yes.
Like, maybe there was going to be more from Kate Stewart,
Yeah,
in Unit. Maybe there was going to be more of stuff going on inside Passenger.
Yeah,
maybe the fact that we've got 3 doctors in the final episode meant that we would have had 1 doctor in 3 different episodes. Who knows with these things?
Yeah, well, that's the
right?
thing. Yeah, maybe this the Flux thing was planned across 10 episodes and has had to be compressed and condensed a little bit. I mean, maybe at some point, we'll find out a bit more about it, because I think it would be really interesting from a
it certainly
film
would
production angle to find out,
Definitely.
how they
We'll get that
how
big
they
interview
dealt-
with Chris Chibnall.
Yeah,
Get
how
on
they
it,
dealt
Jeff.
with all
Get
of
him on the
this.
show.
Yeah, I can't
Want
tweet
me
him.
to slide into his DMs?
Do that, yeah. Can I just say as well, actually, that I love the fact, I know we sort of mentioned it earlier with 3 different doctors, but I mean, wow, talk about putting a doctor front and center of her own story in the final episode, when it absolutely
I must say, I was a bit
not
worried.
just once, but twice and 3 times. She was driving all 3 of those different intertwining conclusions
across all those different time
fabulous
zones and dimensions. And because there was some criticism with the series 12 finale, that the Doctor was in prison for a lot of it, and didn't kind of take an enormously active role in things.
I've seen that criticism. I don't agree with
it.
No, I didn't agree with it.
There are different ways of telling a story, and that's just another way of doing that. You can disagree with it if you want.
I didn't feel that at all. But what I was going to say is, when she ended up in the cage with Carvanista, I did think, I hope she's not going to spend ages in there. And I was a bit
seconds, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and probably a bit of a, we know what people have said, before. So here's a bit in a cage, and now we'll get out quickly, But
I think it's even that, mate. I don't think the production team responds to anything that they see in.
Well, you'd hope not.
You just didn't need to be in there.
You tell your own story. You write the story that needs to be told in the way that it's being told, and the truth of the story will come through. And if it needs a talky confrontation, where things are resolved in a conversation, then that's fine. There are millions of books out there. There's TV shows, there's plays where that happens a lot. You have a story told through conversation, one after the other. And it's interesting, dependent on what the conversation is and what it brings to the characters, what it changes, what it does. And at the end of series 12, that conversation changed everything for the Doctor. And she had no agency, but she wasn't allowed to have any within that conversation. It wasn't her control. The Master was the one who was in total, absolute control of that. You stop, you're still, you're paralyzed, you listen to what I have to say. And what he said changed her worldview on everything that she'd experienced up to that point, and that she thought she'd experienced.
And now you look back at it, and that had to happen for all of this. The timeless
absolutely,
stuff,
because it was the middle part of like a 3 or 4 act story, wasn't it? It was Act 2 of a 3 or 4 series story, and we're seeing Act 3 now. To my mind, this is how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because it's not fully resolved yet.
It's like the Empire Strikes Back of the Star Wars trilogy.
It is. Wonder if there'll be Ewoks
or not
to come. But yes, you're right. The Doctor was front and center ×3 in this one,
it was
which
nice
was
to see
brilliant,
that.
because I was a bit worried that maybe the fugitive Doctor was going to show up and save the day, or
Yeah, but it's not about the fugitive Doctor, is it?
No, exactly. No,
I know. Yeah. But what I've loved is the fact that it's been teased throughout. We've seen so many things, and fans have had wild theories, and some have been running off absolutely scared of what they think might happen because of one thing and another. But it's all great because it's just driven so much energy through the series. Can you imagine how boring it would be if we just thought we knew everything, we expected it to go a certain way, and it happened, and it's all right, and we're looking forward to another series of yet more of the same.
Yeah.
To be honest, I thought that was going to be happening a few years ago.
Did you?
I could see it. Yeah, I was feeling it. It was hard. It was hard to watch because I thought, is there any story now that Doctor Who can tell me that I haven't seen?
Yeah.
Little did you know.
And last 3 years is kind of it showed me a whole bunch of stories I've never seen in Doctor Who.
Yeah, it really has. We sort of spoke about this before, but it's challenged and pushed the Doctor in different directions, and things have happened to her that haven't happened before. Much more stuff like that than we've had before. And this massive ongoing storyline, and which also hasn't really happened before. And I think you're right. It needed this, this kick up the butt and this breath of fresh air. And I think doing Flux again has, it's changed that, rather than just doing another.
Yeah. It's been like a ratcheting up of gears, isn't it? We had Gear 1 in Series 11, Gear 2, and now Gear 3. And who knows what's going to come with the specials? Wow, I'm looking forward to it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, have we had any comments come in tonight?
We have had some comments, have we not, Freya? Have you seen some?
Yeah.
There you go. You've been a bit quiet. It's getting a bit late for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I did see a comment on Instagram though about the Paul Hollywood handshake line.
Oh yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it? Paul Hollywood handshake. Yes, we do. I'm just looking. I'm not as professional as you, Jeff. I don't already have this queued, but I do have a few. Here we go. Let's have a look.
Okay.
We have Salty Space Ghost at Salty Girl, who says, how could they pull all these threads together? The answer: 3 Doctors, capital letters, the defiant one, the scheming one, and the vulnerable one. Hugely enjoyable. That final scene with Yaz got my heart racing. Brackets.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't usually ship. So 9 out of 10. And next up, the Master and the Daleks.
Yes, now there was a mention of the Master, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. And do you know, that moment there, Fraser's showing me something on, is this Instagram?
Yeah.
Someone's put, well, I screamed when Dan interrupted. The Doctor nearly kissed Yaz. How dare you, Dan? Which I think reflects quite a lot of comments that I've seen over on social media. I mean, oh man, there was a definite, I know we said it earlier in the podcast, but I was on the edge of my seat because that was real chemistry right there.
It really was, yeah.
Brilliant. I felt that more than I did with the 10th Doctor and Rose.
Rose, yeah.
Which to me at that moment, I know because you love Doomsday, and I'm not such a big fan of it. But
I mean, the saddest thing that's ever been broadcast on television.
Yeah, but I didn't feel it at all. Maybe I was just emotionally cold at that point in my life when it was on. It's possible, but I just didn't feel that connection between Ted and Rose. But there's a podcast for another, or there's a story for another podcast, perhaps, because I know loads of people will disagree with me there, but there you go. But this one, there was no two ways about it. There was a real frizz-on of electricity there between those two guys.
That they had before Dan interrupted them. That was quite interesting, yeah.
So we've got a few more as well. We've got our good friends.
It's because I hadn't even been born yet.
There you go.
Maybe that's why you had no emotion.
Oh, so you're saying
you only had one child, you see. You needed another one.
The advent of 2 children in my life has reconnected me with my emotions. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, frankly.
Which is probably right.
Everybody's right apart from me. Anyway, so back to the comments then. We've got our good friend DDP Kendrick, who says, happens sometimes in Doctor Who. There are duds, and that's fine. I just enjoyed myself and had a great time. Overall, thumbs up for Flux from me. Lautaro Medina says, such a great episode. Exploded into our screens tonight, full of awesome moments and sad ones. Rest in peace, Jericho.
Oh, Jericho!
Yeah. Honestly, I'm still processing.
What a line that he went out with as well, by the way. What an awfully big adventure.
Great.
It really was, the whole thing.
Oh, it's fantastic. I really, really enjoyed Jericho. And again, some fantastic characters in
I liked
this series.
the Scrabble Scrabble reference a couple of episodes ago about it.
And
then she was like, "Oh, I won't be able to say that as a pronoun. Oh, unless I'm playing someone's version."
We've got Blinovitch Limitation Jeff Effect, who say, since its very beginnings, Doctor Who has been a show that has pushed boundaries, tapped a vast wealth of imagination and brought it to our screens. Flux has been the very epitome of this, and tonight's episode was utterly engrossing, engaging, funny, clever, and emotional. Perfect. That's brilliant. And we've got Orinoku McGee, who I think is quite new to us, actually. Hello there. At Deadly Nights, who says, I doubt that's the last we'll be seeing of the Grand Serpent Swarm. Azure, Carve, Vinda, or Bell had a feeling they weren't going to kill TGS off. Still think Di has something to hide? Oh, now there's the thing. Yeah. Glad at least some of my theories come to fruition. Sorry?
Di was a bit odd at the end, actually. Yeah, I thought.
Well, again, she changed, didn't she? But or had something changed her? Had something got into her? Did she pull something out of Passenger in a way? Was Passenger, and what sort of relationship did they have, if anything? We don't know if Passenger is truly sentient or anything, but maybe there was something inside the Passenger form that she connected with or had adventures with or whatever. Honestly, I swear there's a whole series of Big Finish episodes right there. I'd write them if they want. I don't care. My head is brimming with possibilities here of someone lost inside what is essentially a primitive TARDIS, at least in my head anyway. One that hasn't been controlled in the same way as, or isn't as advanced, but is maybe slightly wilder, a little bit more primal perhaps, and engineered slightly differently, like an older version of Windows or something like that. We got the version of Windows ME. It was made and then it was abandoned pretty quickly because there was something intrinsically wrong with its architecture. Right, there you go. Passenger is the Windows ME of TARDISes. There you go. One thing about that's coming through these theories. So actually, going back to Orinoco McGee, who had a load of theories, because we put the question out on our Twitter page. What do people have their theories of what's going to happen in tonight's episode?
We should go back because there was a few on that, weren't there?
So Salty Space Ghost, who put in her theories, or their theories, that I'm thinking Kate Stewart will pilot the TARDIS, reuniting Carvanista with Yaz and Dan. Interesting. And just like the Doctor, the Daleks Transmat, Swarm and Azure are really sending their victims to another dimension when they turn them to dust. The fugitive Doctor will bring them home, even Tecteon. That was maybe a little bit ambitious, but I like that. One thing about that's coming through these theories, as I look at these, is that it's inspiring people to think of some really good ideas, right?
In fact, that's something you touched upon earlier, that all of this has inspired a lot of conversation, whether it's for it all or against it all. And it's so what the show needs to, stay relevant, and whether people like it or not, the fact that they're talking about it so much is a really good thing, I think.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. We've got Sean the Mandasian Cyberman, who's been putting this thing out there for a long time and now says, this is my final time to predict Donna Noble. So I predict Donna's memories will return and Kate Stewart will recruit her in the fight against the Dalek Cybermen, Sontaran Swarm, and Grand Serpent. Brilliant.
Yes,
I love that.
I tweeted him back and said, we'll come back to this. And
you did. I see that. Come back.
Sorry, Sean, you'll have to hold on to that, see if it happens another time.
Indeed. We've also got Aidan at Aidan GCCG1, who says the Doctor will only be shown some of her memories, not all of them. Also, the fugitive Doctor will return again. I also think one of Bell or Vinda will die. Whatever happens, we're in for a great episode. Did you really think that as well?
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to come. Yeah.
They didn't.
It's like Romeo and Juliet.
And they didn't turn out to be the Doctor's parents either.
Well, not yet, at least anyway.
True, yeah. Well, actually, Vinda didn't know about the baby, did he?
No, he didn't. No.
It's like, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm pregnant. As long as we save the universe, then we'll better save the universe then.
Yeah, the little Tigby thing was there as well. Loved that little thing. It was great.
Yeah, that was really good, wasn't it?
The Doctor knew what it was. He was like, oh. And then both the Doctors were just smiling so much.
Both the Doctors. Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, I mean, there's so much to process in this. In each episode that's gone past in this series, they have been absolutely jam-packed from beginning to end. They've hardly stopped for a breath throughout any of them. And I do wonder, watching this thing, 6 hours of it, and then some back to back, would be quite an epic thing to do. And I'm looking forward to being able to do that at some point in my life.
Definitely. Yeah. I've loved it. It's just, the whole thing was brilliant. You can listen back to the podcast, and for what we said about it, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it really was just unbelievably massive in scale. Yeah, I love the whole thing. It was the best series I think we've had.
Oh, dun dun dun! That's a big claim. It was a great series.
What are your thoughts? I'm going to add a mic drop noise here.
Yeah, you might do. Yeah, Freya, what are your thoughts on your scene? Because obviously,
back me up.
Incredible. Obviously, it was just amazing.
Obviously.
Was
it obviously amazing?
And it's just wow.
Just wow. See, because you're quite a recent newcomer to the whole Doctor Who thing, aren't you? Not well, quite recent.
In like 5 years.
Has it really been 5 years?
Well, that's quite recent compared to us.
That's quite recent. Yeah. Well, what was your first Doctor? It was with Bill, wasn't it? With the pilot. That's right.
I can't remember how.
Yeah, that's it. And you just decided that you're going to watch Doctor Who with me one day. You just said, right, can I watch it? I said, yeah, okay, whatever.
I'm waiting for
I had no idea what was going on. It could have been the scariest episode, the most disgusting body horror. And I would have let my 9-year-old daughter sit there and watch it.
Yeah, I was 9.
I'm waiting for my son to finally say he'll watch it.
Yeah, not long now, mate.
The twins know who the Doctor is, and when they've seen a previous, male doctors, they're a bit confused. So to them, the Doctor's a girl, So,
that's the point, isn't it? Yeah, for old generation people, now the Doctor will be
younger.
Female.
You mean?
Yeah.
You said older generation people.
No, I said for a new generation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah,
I have bad hearing. Okay,
listen.
you know that.
I do know that.
Future lifeblood of the show. Yeah.
Indeed it is, yes. Yeah. So that's been a lot of fun then. I've enjoyed looking at Flux and watching Flux, and it's all over now. But we don't have long to wait until we get our New Year's special.
No.
Eve of the Daleks.
Now, that's a title that I don't think anyone would have guessed. I think I had an idea. Maybe it was like Retribution or something. Okay. But yeah, Eve of the Daleks. Now, I'm still hoping that there'll be a bit of Davros action. But the synopsis for the episode says they get stuck in a time loop in the elf storage. I guess it's going to be a bit of a jolly overall, this one.
Who knows?
But based on Chibbs's past, his track record, here's a little bit of fun with the Jadoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm not sure that it will be as straightforward, as that's making out. So, yeah, it's not long till we get that one now, less than a month, which is of course really exciting. That piece of promo art that they've put out for it is lovely. But of course, that is 1 down, 2 to go after that. I kind of don't want it to, to come in a way, because then it's, you're moving towards the end. But,
whoever it was said it, all things come to an end.
All things come to an end, yeah.
No more regeneration.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
No. There you go. Anyway, before we end on a down note, let's leave it there. Thank you for listening to our Flux podcasts.
Everyone who's tweeted in, with their episode thoughts, thank you. We appreciate everything. We will be back.
Really do. We need content.
Yes, we'll be back very soon. We're currently recording some episodes with other people, some guests, which will be dropping soon, and we'll be doing a bit of an in-depth Flux review soon, and we've got some plans for some other stuff which will require you, dear listeners. So thanks everyone, and we hope you've enjoyed Flux as much as we have, and do tweet us in with your thoughts. We still want to hear what you think.
We do,
and we'll even if it's very soon.
Bye for now.
Farewell.
Bye. Bye.